And look, they've sealed up all the holes. Can you see that? See how they sealed that up? But you can see somebody's moving around up here. Uh-oh. Hi, welcome to Miss Annette's Little Farm in the big city. It's a beautiful fall morning. Mr. Steve is getting ready to build us a fire, and we're going to spend the rest of the day outside. Now, up until this point, we've been preparing for winter, and I've been preparing the bees for winter specifically. Over the last few weeks, I've been doing things to help the bees survive the winter, which is the most important thing for me, is not harvesting the honey, but to be able to keep the bees alive throughout the winter. And bees themselves have a lot of things going on inside the hive to do that as well. And I've done a few things to help them along. So the video today is going to be a lot of different days, all kind of strung together, leading up into this day where I finally am leaving the bees alone on their own devices for the rest of the winter. Right now, I'm going to treat the bees and take off one of the supers that we will harvest for honey. I'm going to treat them for varroa mites. I'm going to put the bottom board in, and then I have this little spacer because I'm going to need a little space for the bees to walk on top of the treatment. I have the ApriGuard and I have some tools. Hi, everybody. Well, the last time we got in the bees, we got in there to feed them and to treat them. Now it's been a couple of weeks and I'm going to treat them again, but I also noticed that something's wrong with the beehive. And first of all, I put in the mite tray in the bottom of the hive to see how many mites were on them. And for beetles and mites. And I put it down there. When I checked it, I saw these little super microscopic worms. Super tiny. I mean, you could barely see them. They look like a hair. And not a lot of them, but a couple of them. So that made me suspicious. Something I've never encountered before in keeping bees. Then I looked it up, and I think it might be wax moths. So today we're going to get in the hive and we are going to reduce possibly take out any infestation and reduce the hive down to a manageable thing. That hive has always seemed like a really big, healthy hive. And they could probably manage the wax moths themselves, but we're going to give them a little help. We're going to reduce it. We're going to take out some of the frames that aren't being used, and we'll move things around a little bit, which the bees are not going to like it, but eventually it will help them to combat the wax moths. So that's the first line of defense. And the second line of defense is a chemical treatment, which, since this all just happened really soon, I don't have any of that on hand right now, which now that I realize I should probably always have it on hand. But, you know, live and learn. See any sign of wax moths on this. That is good. That's good news. That's good news. Hey babies. Thank you, babies. Alright. Now, I know I should have wore a veil, but it's so hot and I can't see if there's sweat falling from my eyes with my glasses falling off, all of that. And I would have been going like this and putting myself in more danger instead of having a net and being able to keep myself cool, calm, and collected. I have a few takeaways from my hive. They don't have any stores for the winter at all. I didn't see any honey stores at all. I didn't see any eggs, but I did see some larvae, and we saw the one bee coming out. So I don't know what's going on with that hive. I mean, there shouldn't be. The queen has certainly stopped laying by now because it's already October, and she has slowed down her laying, and anything that she's laying now are the bees that are going to get her through the winter. So we'll see. We'll see what's happening. So I'm going to have to feed these bees. It's going to be my #1 priority going into winter, is getting these bees fed 2-3 times a day to make sure they have enough sugar water to get them through the winter. Now, am I going to be able to harvest that? Is it going to turn into honey? Not really. So we're not going to be harvesting anything. Evidently, due to my negligence, we must have had a period where they were eating the honey that they had stored to get through the summer. And that probably happened through August. And, you know, I just need to prioritize my timing when it comes to the animals. I mean, the chickens and the ducks and the goats get a lot of attention because they're all, they're right there. But I need to be able to take care of those bees. If I'm going to have them on my property, I need to be more diligent in taking care of them. So, no wax moths that I could see, treated for mites, and feeding. And we'll see what happens. We are going to check back. I'm going to put it on my calendar to check weekly, even if it's just to open it up and look inside. That's what we'll do. All right? And that's what happens sometimes. When you take on all of this responsibility, sometimes something gets left behind. Unfortunately, with the bees this year. I feel terrible about it. I feel terrible that we're going to do what we can to help them get through the winter. Man, doesn't feel like winter today. It doesn't even feel like fall. I have everything I need to make my candy board. I have my sugar, I have my water heating up, I have some distilled white vinegar, and I have some newspaper, and my candy board. The thing about my candy board that I am thinking about is that when I get this in there, and then I'm going to put my quilting box over the top of it, and if I have this completely filled, there's not going to be any airflow. So I'm not going to completely fill this candy board. I'm going to have some spaces where some air can get through. But when I make it, it'll be completely full, and then I'll take some out. You'll see when I get this stuff. And I have this newspaper paper. There's no ink on it, and I just happened to get this in a package, and I decided this would be really good to use because it doesn't have any ink in it. I won't need very much vinegar, and I'm using the distilled vinegar. Helps to reduce bacteria in the sugar board, and that's why I'm adding it. Now I'm going to make, I'm not even sure how much this is. I am so sorry, but I'm going to use it's 1 tablespoon to 16 pounds. So I'm going to have to try to figure out how many pounds I have here. I think I have about 5 pounds of sugar right now, so I'll have to figure out how much I'm going to need for that. Which is just a little tiny bit, and math isn't my thing, so I'm going to ask Mr. Steve to figure it out for me. And I've been mixing it, and I want it as dry as I possibly can have it. So it's pretty dry. It's at a consistency of a really good packed snow. So I've got it ready to get put into the frame. Now before, when I made these, filled it all the way in, and it kind of made a vapor lock for all of that moisture that's in the hive during the winter. So I am trying to avoid that by making this hole and by not taking the candy board all the way to the edges. This towel down, and I put some wine corks. I want it to be able to dry out some. That's why I'm using cloth. It's very wet, and even though I put a lot of sugar in it, it still had a lot of water. I probably could have used 1 cup less water, but that's okay. I'll keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't ruin the table, and make sure it dries out. There's a heating vent really close to this table, and it's in the sun, so I think it'll help dry it out. the winter. I'm not going to have to do much else, but just keep an eye on them, because there isn't really much else I can do except feed them and keep them safe. I'm not going to make a wind barrier or wrap it or do any of that stuff. I've done that stuff before in the past, and it's led me to lose my hive because I've wrapped it too tight, and the moisture inside can kill a beehive just as fast as anything else. So I'm not going to do that. We'll just wait and see. That's all we can do, right? I've had bees here on the little farm for a really long time. As a matter of fact, the bees were the very first animal on the little farm before there was even a little farm. And I am still learning. There's so much to learn about beekeeping, and I am still making mistakes. But I keep trying, and I think that's the important part. Just keep trying and keep learning, because beekeeping is a lot more complicated than just getting a box and putting some bees in it and gathering honey. Now, I've learned that the hard way sometimes. And you just have to, I guess beekeeping is a lesson in resiliency. Well, now we're ready for winter. I got to get the animals ready and the garden ready. So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming up soon too. I really want to thank you. I want to thank you for subscribing, for watching, for thumbs up, comments, all of that. I really appreciate your support. It means the world to me. It really does. You are so special to me. You really are. Thank you. Thank you for visiting me here on Miss Annette's Little Farm in the big city. Make sure you get outside today if you can. And take care of each other. Take care of yourself. We'll see you next time.